topic of the day.
It's Dwelly tomorrow.
Another positive one. The worst contract on the 49ers. And why is it George Kittle?
It's not George Kittle, Grant.
It's definitely not George Kittle.
So I guess he's not on tomorrow. My guess is
it is not George Kittle. And if you thought you were going to get a George Kittle interview at any point, that is blown out the window. No, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, I kind of put this question out there, and I thought there would be a lot of different answers, but I think it's pretty clear it's Arik Armstead. If you look at his salary cap number this season, it's going to be $20 million. And if you look the next 2 seasons, it goes up further. It's 21 next year and 23 the year after. And yes, the 49ers do have an out in his contract, but even with that out in his contract, they would have to take on an $11.5 million dead cap hit in the first year.
That's not good. That's
not good. $6.5 million dead cap hit in the year after.
That's
so really, to me, the only way that this contract gets any better is if they decide to extend him when they have that out in his contract. And that doesn't even really make things better at all. So I feel like they're in a situation where they're kind of stuck with this contract. Whereas you look at some of the other contracts on the 49ers, like Trent Williams, which I know Grant loves to hate on, right? That's an easier contract to get out of than the Arik Armstead contract. And he's a much better player than Arik Armstead is right now. And I think with Arik Armstead's role and how much money they're paying him, it just doesn't make sense long term. And I think he's the one contract that, to me, is holding this team back from winning a Super Bowl, if anything.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with Ben just because at least Armstead could still play. The contract that I think is the worst is going to be Dee Ford, right? Because you're paying for a player that isn't
so
even
easy
playing, right? So at least Armstead has the opportunity to be productive for the team. We don't even know if Dee Ford is going to be able
to play again.
Right. So paying a player that could actually play is much better than paying for a player that isn't playing, right? So that's why I'm going to go with Dee Ford as far as being the worst contract, just because that's just money that we could be using towards somebody else. Unless he comes back, then I'll be wrong. But,
but if he doesn't, he could pocket like $45 million for what, like 250 snaps?
They can't get out of that.
Not his fault. Definitely not his fault. The Niners knew what they were getting into. But it's a good goal.
Worst case scenario played out. Worst case scenario played out.
These are 2 bad contracts we've just named.
Right.
The Arik Armstead one is bad too and they haven't really begun to feel the badness. Feel the badness. Jose.
This year it gets bad.
See, I want to do the cop out and say Jimmy Garoppolo just because I guess I'm a Jimmy G hater and it's kind of funny, but honestly I still can't have it in me to say. Maybe if we asked this question last year I would have said that, but they could easily cut him and then they're all good. I think I'm gonna be a little bit of half Grant right now and say Trent Williams because I started thinking, maybe last year his performance was more because he'd had that bye season. He had that bye season and he was fresh because just watching training camp, it was like this guy is just straight owning Nick Bosa. He's owning Dee Ford. He's owning everyone. That guy was like pretty much a brick wall. You couldn't move him. What if now all of a sudden this season, now we see him, he starts to degrade. He starts to go declining. It's not a steep decline. Maybe it's all of a sudden we start seeing a roller coaster. We start seeing some McGlinchey out of him because his age and because now his body's like more, it's not as fresh as it was before. So I think that could be a worse contract for sure. And it's a gamble because the 49ers kind of had to give him that contract, in my opinion, because you don't want to be 2 years in a row of just figuring out, oh God, now we have out. So their hands were kind of forced, especially when you have Trey Lance coming in, you need Garoppolo to protection because one tackle and he's done. But I can definitely see it where it's like, oh God, this guy, maybe he's not nowhere near where he was in 2020. And even if he's half of what he is already, that contract looks bad. And like Ben said, you can get out of it kind of like down the line, but it's not like you can get out in a year or two, but still it'd be something like, that kind of hurts a little bit, especially since like McGlinchey's not necessarily your anchor right tackle. So that's something that could probably be, if he doesn't live up to it, even like more than halfway.
I think Armstead is going to have a better year this year just because, maybe not 2019 level, but just having Nick Bosa hopefully back to close to full strength and Samson Ebukam on the other edge, just getting Armstead back inside. Maybe he won't reach his salary potential, but I think he'll be better. My pick is Robbie Gould. Because looking what Tristan Vizcaino did in that one game he kicked for the 49ers, it shows that if you find the right cheap kicker, you can do a lot of damage with that. And Robbie Gould's pretty good when he's healthy, but he's been hurt the last couple of years and has missed a lot of kicks because he's hurt. And
he's expensive.
Yeah, and very expensive. I think it's $4 million a year-ish around that, and that's a lot to be paying a kicker for 13 or less games a year.
He doesn't
Kickers are
kick
people
off.
too, Maverick.
That's
He
why I
doesn't
picked
kick off.
him. I
He
included
doesn't
him.
really, he doesn't really have range past 45 degrees. He hasn't come on my show yet or agreed to interview. So yeah, Robbie Cool.
And hey, Maverick, his dead cap hit this year is $8 million.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
Who, Robbie?
What?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah, because they
$8
just upped
million
him.
this year.
I think
And
they
it's like
extended
5
him.
next year.
The
Yeah.
other thing about Trent Williams,
That's
that is
disgusting.
not a Parag deal. Remember, the Niners, Parag basically put his foot down and was like, "All right, go to Kansas City, good luck." And Kyle had to call him up and was like, "Nah, we don't do business like that around here anymore, Parag. Sorry, we're keeping Trent." So that was a Kyle move. I'm gonna go with the guy that you guys haven't said, just to keep it fresh, Jimmy Garoppolo. And I know that it's structured well, that they can get out of it. They haven't got out of it yet. And for whatever reason, they're like stuck in this limbo of Jimmy Garoppolo. And as long as they have his $27 million cap number on their books, that's the albatross that's holding them back more than Armstead, more than Dee Ford, more than anyone. And I know they can get rid of it in a way that the Rams couldn't get rid of Goff's, but they haven't done it yet. And it could go on forever. I don't know.